So, I don't even know what the title of this video will be. However, I want to talk about a couple of interesting things and a couple of interesting facts in today's video. Am I the only one who feels like this? Because it's so we're 2 days away from finding out. Well, hopefully it's only 2 days, but I doubt that. But let's say that we're 2 days away from finding out who's going to be the 47th president of the most important country in the world. And we either have Kamala or DJT. As you know, I support Trump, and I think that there are many reasons too. And we're going to find out whether we will go to World War III or whether everything is going to be more or less fine. But do elections really matter? You know, yesterday I put out a statement, or it was today at like 2 a.m. or stuff like that. But let's say yesterday. Yesterday I put a statement, talking about elections. And I said that in 2016, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show to you the statement I'm referring to. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost to Trump by a few votes, just a few thousands of votes. But I would say she was fairly charismatic. She was smart. Even Trump said that. And she was very experienced, but she still lost. In 2020, Biden won against Trump by a narrow margin, despite having BLM, COVID going on, and despite the Hunter Biden laptop story being suppressed. So despite all of these helps, he still won the election by fewer than 100,000 votes. In 2024, we have Kamala running, the worst vice president in the history of the country, before she ran for president. Before she started her campaign in July or August, whenever it was, everybody agreed that she was the worst vice president in history, and everybody, I wouldn't say hated her, but everybody certainly wasn't okay with her job, even Democrats. She had an approval rating of the likes we had never seen before when it comes to vice president. Like 28-32%, stuff we had never seen before. Even Biden had a higher approval rating after the debate, which was a train wreck for Biden. So how on earth is somebody gonna convince me that Kamala can possibly win this election without rigging it? Guys, it's just, if you look at things, I know that I'm gonna sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I know that I'm gonna sound like a MAGA extremist or something like that. Label me however you want, I don't care, but how on earth can Kamala win an election against Trump fairly? I just don't see how it's possible. Look, we're talking about a person who's had 4 months to campaign, so the shortest campaign ever. Biden had 2 years, and the same thing for Hillary Clinton. We're talking about a person who has ideas that nobody believes, nobody knows what they are. That's there is like 70% of Americans who doesn't know what her opinions are. I mean, we don't know what she thinks. Does she want the border to be closed? Does she want the border to be open? Does she want to ban fracking? Does she not want to ban fracking? I mean, Americans don't know what she thinks. So how on earth can she win without a rigged election against Trump? And yes, Trump is not the best candidate of all time. He's not the most popular one, certainly. But he's won against Hillary Clinton, who's had 2 years to run her campaign, far smarter than Kamala, far more eloquent, because Kamala is she's an empty vessel. She says stuff. I listen to her. Well, I don't do that a lot because that would be a torture. But I listen to her talking, and she says a bunch of words without saying nothing. I have never seen anything like that. She says a lot of word salads, and nobody understands what she says. Nobody, because it's just incomprehensible. I mean, what is she saying? Loads of word salads. She can't do an interview. All the interviews she's done are train wrecks. As soon as she started doing interviews, she's plummeting in the polls. I don't comprehend how she can possibly lose. We're seeing more and more people coming to Trump. Trump has built a team of the likes we had never seen before. He's gotten Musk, he's gotten Tulsi Gabbard, those are all former Democrats. He's gotten RFK, a Kennedy endorsing a Republican. Guys, that makes you understand how extreme the Democratic Party has gone. And I say this as a person who's not Republican, who's not a Democrat, so I say this in a very particular position. But he's built this team with Vivek, DeSantis, J.D. Vance, who's very eloquent. He's a very eloquent dude. I watched the podcast with J.D. Vance. with Joe Rogan. It was a very great one, better than the one with Trump. And he's probably a better politician than Trump. I mean, because he's gotten those qualities. Trump is a better entertainer, no doubt about it. But Trump has formed a very great team. What team has Kamala formed other than celebrities who have been at Diddy parties? Like, tell me, all the people who have endorsed Kamala, LeBron James, Beyonce, all of these people, they have been to Diddy's party. Most of them, at least. I don't comprehend. I know that there is a very big chunk of the Democratic Party that's gonna vote for the Democratic Party regardless of the candidate. But let's say that this is a 35% of the voters. Like, how on earth is Kamala gonna win? The only way I can see her winning is if they rig it. I've said it. And I think that, and this is probably gonna be the title, it's gonna get me in trouble, but it's gonna be fun. But what I want to talk about today is also, do elections really matter? This is a genuine question. Do elections really matter? Who runs the government? Is the President of the United States actually in charge? Those are interesting questions. Now, I don't know the answer to those questions, and neither do you. But those are certainly very valid and interesting questions. Who runs the world? And my opinion is that there is a deep state who runs the world without a doubt. I don't know who these people are, but there is somebody who's above the president who runs the world. But regardless of that, do elections really matter? Do they? That's an interesting one to ask. I'm going to say something hyper controversial here. After my infamous and notorious video in which I declared that women shouldn't vote. Actually, it was just a title, but let's just say I declared it. After saying women shouldn't vote, I'm going to say something even more controversial now. I don't buy into controversial statements. I'm not that guy. You've never heard me saying anything remotely controversial. You've never heard me saying something like that. I'm going to say something which is going to anger a lot of people, but I'm going to do it. If women didn't vote, better choices would be made in regards to voting. That's outrageous. Let's calm down for a second. Let me tell you why. And this is not misogyny. Let me tell you why. So, as a professional, let's analyze this very interesting situation. We should teach people how to vote because people don't know how to vote. There are people going to vote for a candidate because a celebrity endorsed them. Like people are going to vote for, I don't know, Kamala because Taylor Swift endorsed her. That's nuts. But voting is something very important. And when you vote, you have to vote rationally and you have to vote based on competence. We have talked about the biggest problems when it comes to voting. One issue voters. So people are going to let the country born in order to kill their babies until the 9th month. That's the biggest example. I've talked about emotional voters. People are not going to vote for a candidate despite they're better than the other one because he's nastier, because he's not as nice as the other one. And we have talked about identity politics. I'm going to vote for this person because she's black, because she's a woman, or because he's a man, or because he's white. But often those three things add up together. Most of the times, and especially when it comes to Kamala voters, I talked about this. Why do you vote for her? The economy is shit, and aliens are coming into the country, but Trump's going to ban abortion, even though he's not going to do it, as we know. And I can kill the baby till the 9th month, and she's a woman, and she's black, and also she's nicer. We've talked about this. That's the typical Kamala voters, I would argue. And I don't mean to offend anybody. I just want to be a little bit petty. I'm a little bit an asshole. I will admit it. I'm honest. But this is the typical Kamala voter, I think. There are also some crazy people who vote for Trump, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they aren't, but I'm saying this is the typical Kamala voter. And I love everybody, love never fails. But I just want to say it. But voting has to be made non-emotionally. And men are less emotional than women and more rational than women. And therefore, there is a higher chance that a male makes the most rational choice when it comes to voting than a female. Therefore, if we only had men voting, we would have more rational choices made. And I would argue that the more rational a choice is, especially when it comes to voting a candidate, the better it is. I would argue. I mean, I know it's radical, but I just think it is true. And I stand by what I said. If only men voted, better choices would be made in terms of voting. Because we have more single issue voters, more emotional voters, and more identity politics voters in women. There certainly are in men. However, guys, we have more women voting emotionally, more women voting irrationally. Because women are more emotional than men, and that's a great thing. We will go through that. Now I also want to talk about another thing, since we addressed this issue. I'm talking about a phenomenon which is called political homelessness. I am homeless politically. I don't know where I belong to. I'm in a very interesting situation where I believe that men can't get pregnant, where I believe that men can't become women, where I believe that trans women are just men in dresses, where I believe that non-binary people are mentally ill. But at the same time, I do believe that a genocide should be condemned. So I'm in this very interesting situation where I don't associate with the Republican Party on one hand, because, I mean, other than Trump, they're kind of justifying a genocide. But the Democratic Party is maybe even worse, because they believe in the woke garbage. They believe in transitioning children without parental consent. Where do I belong? No, I think that I should start a political movement. I feel like I should. We should start a political movement. Let's call it, I don't know, nationalist, something like that. I'm also in a very interesting position because, as I said, I said those things. I don't like some things about the Democratic Party. I don't like some things about the Republican. I don't like the emotionality in the Democratic Party. I don't like the Zionism in the Republican Party. And I'm not pro-Israel. I'm not pro-Palestine. I'm just saying that I don't like genocide. I don't like it. I know it's radical. I know it is a radical position in 24. I'm radical. I know that very well. However, I happen to believe in those things for XYZ reasons. But needless to say, guys, I am one of those guys. We're going to go through my opinions. I think that most of you agree with this. I believe in borders. I believe in borders. You got to have borders. I believe in deportation. I believe in mass deportation. I believe that we shouldn't allow illegal aliens to come into the country. And I don't believe in emotional arguments for that. People go, oh, but what about the people who are starving to death and poor as hell who have nowhere to go? Let's think about this as professionals. I understand that very well, and we are very lucky to be born with a roof and with food and with water. However, I also believe that a country shouldn't be invaded. If there were a poor person who was begging to come into your house, would you allow them to go in? I personally wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't, because you say, what if this person is scamming me? What if this person is a criminal? And the same thing should be done when it comes to borders. Poland and the Polish Prime Minister, God bless him because he's a great guy, did something which I happen to agree with. They basically passed a law that allows people from the military to use violence in order to counterattack the invasion at their border. I agree with this, guys, because it is needed. We need to stop this. It is necessary. Then, as I said, when it comes to the woke agenda, and we will talk about it, I believe that men who dress up like women and act like women aren't women. Radical idea in 2024. Wait. In 2024, he believes there are only two genders? How dare you say something as radical as that? Yeah, I believe that there are only two genders. Call me crazy, assassinate me. I believe that there are only two genders. I know it is radical. I know it is. I don't give a shit. It is radical. It is just truth, whether you like it or not. Non-binary people are mentally ill. I've said it. And we should help them rather than make them believe their own delusion. They are mentally ill. They effectively are. Transgenderism is a mental illness. It effectively is. A person who's gotten doubts about what gender they are when you just have to look at whether you've gotten a dick or a pussy, I think that that's an issue. I think that that's a mental problem. I don't think it is just that you were born in the wrong body. I don't think it is. I just don't think it is. But then I'm against genocide. So where do we belong? Because you people listening to this video probably belong in the same place I belong to some degree. Like, I believe that you're against woke shit garbage. I believe that you're against genocide. Where do we belong? And by the way, I'm also in favor of free healthcare. If you want to tax the population 50%, you gotta give them free healthcare. Or you tax the population 10 or 20% and you can make healthcare expensive. So this is a very interesting situation. But now let's go back to the US election. We're just 2 days away from the election. And tomorrow there's going to be a comedy sketch, I believe. I'm going to try to do Kamala cackling and Trump and all those sorts of things. But let's talk about this very interesting issue. So I've said in a shorts, and I put that message out, and I'm going to show it to you again as I did in this video already. I, guys, believe, I'm going to say it. I've said crazy stuff. I've said crazy stuff already, didn't I? If Kamala wins this election, it's been rigged. I've said it. I don't think it's, let's say this, let's analyze this. In 2016 Trump run, he had all the establishment against him, all the people against him. He was expected to lose badly in a way we hadn't seen in decades. Yet he won against Hillary Clinton, who was smart, who ran her campaign for 2 years, who won primaries. She won primaries. Kamala didn't. Kamala wouldn't have made it to Iowa like in 2019 because she's genuinely not inspiring. She isn't. Even Democrats would admit this. Like, whenever I listen to her talk, and she talks in rhyme, she loops around stuff, and she says word salads, I'm like, what the hell am I listening to? What is this 60-year-old woman saying? I was raised in a middle-class family. And we have to unburden America by what has been, by the burden. What is that? What did you just say? I didn't get it. Yes, you were born in a middle-class family, so what? Other than that, do you have something to offer? She's got nothing. And Hillary Clinton, despite being smart, despite having won the primaries, despite all of those things, she lost against Trump. In 2020, Biden runs. He has BLM helping him. He has the Hunter Biden story suppressed, helping him. He has COVID going on, helping him. And he wins barely by fewer than 100,000 votes, despite all of those things. In 2024, there is Kamala running. She hasn't won primaries. She's run her campaign for 4 months only. She's been put there by the Democratic Party, by the elites of the Democratic Party, not by the Democrats, not by the voters, the American citizens. She's the least eloquent of those 3 candidates. She's the least charismatic. She's the least inspiring. How the fuck is she gonna win unless it's rigged? How on earth it's possible? How on earth can it be possible? If it's not rigged, how can she win it? It's just, with this logic, I don't comprehend how she could win the election. I just don't get it. How could she win? And Trump's support hasn't shrinked. Maybe it has even grown. His support has grown amongst African Americans, Latinos, Muslims, Arabs, Jews, probably. How on earth is he going to lose unless it's rigged? This is my idea. I predict Kamala's win, and I predict that something's gonna happen there, which is a little bit sus, I would say. That's my idea. Because as I said, Kamala is the worst candidate out of the three Democrats who have run against Trump. And you're gonna tell me that she's gonna win against Trump, who's probably gotten more support than ever? No way. No way. No freaking way. I struggle to believe that she can pull it off without some sort of rigging. It's just incomprehensible. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm too biased. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. What I do know is that if Kamala wins this thing, the world is going to shit. World War III is going to be closer than ever. And this probably be rigged.